Aiden Cole stood on the viewing deck of the Star Voyager with a calm smile on his face as the ship moved through space toward the planet Oriole 7. He was a young human engineer with a curious mind and a gentle nature. He had joined the exploration ship because he always believed that meeting new worlds and new life could make the galaxy a kinder place. He never imagined that one mission on a peaceful day would change his entire future. The Star Voyager slowed as it approached Oriole 7. The planet looked beautiful from space. Its surface was covered with shining blue lakes, green land full of glowing trees and soft purple clouds. The Aurelians, the native species of the planet, were known across the galaxy as a proud and disciplined people. They valued logic, harmony, and polite behavior. Many said they rarely showed emotions in public. Even their children grew up with strict manners and little physical affection. Because of this, humans were told to behave carefully during the visit. Aiden stood with the rest of the team inside the landing shuttle as it prepared to land near the Grand Aurelian Palace. The team leader, Captain Marin Hayes, reminded the group to be respectful. She told them not to touch anything without permission, not to speak loudly, and to follow Aurelian customs. Aiden listened, but he felt a nervous excitement. It was not fear. He simply wanted to make a good impression. He hoped that today would be the start of a friendly connection between humans and Aurelians. When the shuttle touched the ground, a group of tall Aurelian guards waited to greet them. The Aurelians had crystal-like skin that reflected the sunlight in soft colors. Their eyes glowed like stars, and their movements were graceful and calm. They wore silver robes with gentle patterns that moved like light on water. The palace stood behind the guards, made of white stone that glimmered with natural light. The walls seemed to sing softly when the wind passed. Aiden had never seen such a peaceful and beautiful place. He stepped outside, holding his small translator device in his hand, knowing it would help with language during conversations. The group bowed politely as the Aurelian guide welcomed them. Aiden stayed close to his team, looking around with interest. As they walked inside the palace, he admired the tall crystal pillars, glowing symbols on the floor, and gentle music that flowed through the air. Everything felt calm, controlled, and full of order. During the tour, Aiden took a moment to look at a glowing wall carving showing Aurelian history. When he turned around again, he realized the team had moved a little further. He hurried to catch up and turned down a hallway that looked similar to where the group had gone. He did not notice that he had taken a wrong turn. Aiden walked a few steps before he realized he was alone. He stopped and looked around, confused. The hallway was quiet, and he could not hear the voices of his team anymore. He laughed softly at himself, thinking he must have taken the wrong path. He hoped he could find the group again before anyone thought he was lost. He saw a small door at the end of the hallway and thought it might lead to a main area. He reached for it, but the door opened from the other side first. A tiny Aurelian child stepped out. The child looked around 5 or 6 years old in human age. The child had silver markings on the arms and soft glowing eyes that showed innocence and curiosity. Aiden froze, not wanting to scare the little one. He smiled gently and bent a little to appear friendly. The child looked at Aiden for only 2 seconds before running forward with surprising speed. Before Aiden could react, the child wrapped both arms around his leg in a tight hug. The small body held him with affection and excitement. Aiden's eyes widened in shock. He looked down at the little one in confusion. The child looked up at him with a bright, happy smile and shouted a single word loudly. Through the translator, the word rang clearly. Dad Aiden's heart jumped. He could not speak for a few seconds. He had never met this child, he had no children of his own, and he was on an alien world. Why would a child call him that? The hug was warm, full of trust and joy. It was something completely opposite of what he had been told about Aurelian behavior. Aiden slowly knelt down so the child would let go of his leg. The child did not. Instead, the little arms moved around Aiden's neck and the child hugged him again. Aiden gently placed his hands on the child's back, unsure of what to do. He did not want to push the child away and make the little one sad. A soft gasp came from behind. Aiden turned his head and saw 2 palace guards staring at him with shock. It looked as if they had never seen a scene like this before. One guard hurried away, probably to call someone important. The other guard stared at Aiden as if he had broken a sacred rule. Aiden tried to speak. He raised his hands a little to show he had done nothing wrong. He said in a calm voice that he did not know what was happening. The child only hugged him tighter, as if afraid that someone would take him away. Soon footsteps echoed through the hallway. More guards arrived, and with them came tall, important-looking Aurelians dressed in royal clothing. The soft sound of crystal shoes touching the floor filled the space. The atmosphere felt tense. Everyone looked at Aiden as if something unbelievable was happening. Then the room became silent. Everyone bowed. Aiden looked forward and saw a woman with a calm yet powerful presence. Her robe shimmered with colors of dawn and night. Her eyes carried wisdom, strength, and authority. She walked with graceful steps. Aiden understood at once that she was the Aurelian queen. The queen looked at Aiden, then at the child holding on to him. Her expression changed slightly. Her eyes filled with something he could not understand. She slowly moved closer. Every step she took caused the air to grow heavier with importance. Aiden gently tried to help the child stand beside him, but the child refused to let go and buried the face in his shoulder. Aiden placed a calm hand on the child's back, hoping to give comfort. The queen stopped only a few steps away. She stared at Aiden for a long moment. Her eyes moved from his face to the child's markings. Aiden felt that she was searching for answers inside his soul. Her voice was soft when she finally spoke. It held a quiet shock that no one expected to hear from a ruler known for calm control. She looked at Aiden with disbelief and whispered a question that shook everyone present. How is this possible? Aiden felt chills run through his body. He did not know what she meant. He only knew that everyone stared at him as if something ancient and important had just happened. The Aurelian queen reached out her hand slightly toward the child but stopped as if unsure what to do. The child looked at the queen, then back at Aiden, and held him even tighter. Aiden could feel the small heartbeat against his chest. It seemed filled with trust. Aiden tried to speak with gentle honesty. He told the queen that he had never seen the child before, and he had no idea why the child believed he was a father. His voice remained soft because he did not want to frighten the child or show disrespect to the queen. The queen's eyes softened with a mix of confusion and emotion. It seemed like she wanted to step forward and embrace the child, but something held her back. The Aurelians behind her exchanged quiet looks of shock. They looked at Aiden as if he was part of a mystery that changed everything they believed. The hallway stayed silent. No one dared to speak. Even the air felt still, as if the world itself was waiting for the next moment. Aiden stood with the little Aurelian child attached to him, and the queen stared at him with a gaze full of questions. For the first time since he arrived on the planet, Aiden felt that this peaceful visit was going to be something far more important than a simple diplomatic meeting. He felt that his life had just taken a new path, one he never asked for, never expected, and could not refuse now that a small voice had called him Dad. He knew in his heart that whatever happened next would change not only his own future, but the future of two worlds. Aiden stood quietly as the queen continued to look at him with thoughtful eyes. The child still held on to him with a firm grip, refusing to let go. The air around them felt heavy, as if a silent storm was waiting to form. The queen finally raised her hand slightly and the guards slowly moved back to give space. She spoke gently to the child, calling the little one by name. The name was Leora. The sound was soft and full of care, like a mother calling her child home. Leora lifted her head from Aiden's shoulder and looked at the queen, but did not move away from Aiden's arms. The queen tried again, speaking with warmth. Leora hesitated, then slowly reached out one hand toward the queen while still holding Aiden with the other, as if afraid to choose. The queen stepped closer with calm movements. She slowly touched Leora's head with a tender hand. Aiden noticed a small smile in the queen's eyes, although her lips did not move. She whispered to Leora that everything was safe. Leora finally loosened her arms around Aiden's neck but remained beside him, holding his hand tightly instead. It seemed the child believed that if the connection remained, no one could take him away. The queen requested Aiden to follow her. Her voice was polite yet filled with unspoken seriousness. Aiden walked beside her with Leora holding one hand and the queen holding the child's other hand. The palace halls were silent as they moved. Every Aurelian they passed watched them with eyes wide in surprise. Aiden could feel the weight of all those stares, but he remained calm for Leora's sake. They entered a private room that looked peaceful and full of soft blue lights. The walls shimmered with calm patterns that moved like gentle waves. Cushions were placed around a low crystal table, and the atmosphere carried a soothing scent like fresh spring water. The Queen asked Aiden to sit. Leora quickly sat next to him, still touching his hand. The Queen sat across from them and studied Aiden with quiet intensity. After a moment, she began to speak. Her voice was calm, but carried a deep emotion that Aiden could sense beneath the surface. She told him that 5 years ago, before Leora was born, the Aurelians had faced a terrible situation. There had been a cosmic storm near their space territory, filled with strange energy that affected life forms. The energy had damaged many things, including the health of the Queen's unborn child. The royal healers believed Leora would not survive. Aiden listened carefully. He felt his heart tighten as he heard the Queen speak about her worry as a mother. She explained that during that time, an Aurelian research team was observing the storm and discovered something within it. The storm carried particles of foreign biology. When they studied the particles, they found traces of human DNA, but no human was in sight. It was believed that the DNA had been carried into the storm from another region of space. The Aurelians used the DNA in a final attempt to save the unborn child, hoping it would strengthen the damaged life. Aiden felt a chill as he listened. He remembered that some years ago he had volunteered to share samples of his DNA for a harmless research project studying the effects of cosmic radiation on human cells. Those samples had been sent into space on a scientific probe. He never thought they would end up in a cosmic storm or on another world. The Queen paused and looked at Leora with gentle eyes. She said that the healer's method worked and the child survived. Because the DNA helped Leora live, the Aurelians believed that the source of the DNA held a sacred connection to the child's life. To them, the person whose DNA saved the child held a role that was deeply respected. They used the word that translated to life-giver, which carried a meaning close to a parent in human culture. Aiden looked at Leora, who was smiling softly while holding his hand. He felt a warm feeling in his chest. He never knew his small action in the past could save someone's life on a planet far away. He also did not expect that a child would look at him with such trust. The Queen continued speaking. She said that she had wondered for years who the human was that carried the other half of her child's life energy. She believed she would never meet that person. Seeing Aiden today had shocked her because the child recognized him instantly without being told. Leora had never met any human before, yet ran to him with certainty. Aiden took a slow, deep breath. He told the Queen he was honored, but he also said he never imagined being connected to a child like this. He did not know the Aurelian customs, and he did not want to disrespect the Queen's family or their culture. His words came from the heart, honest and calm. The Queen listened to him with a thoughtful expression. She said she did not blame him for being surprised. She told him that she did not expect Leora to show such open affection, because Aurelian children were taught to control emotions. She looked at her child again, and this time, Aiden saw soft love in her eyes. Leora leaned on Aiden's arm, and the Queen noticed the comfort and joy in her child's face. It seemed like she was seeing a new side of Leora, something she had never seen before. Aiden gently spoke to Leora, showing kindness without forcing the child to speak or act differently. The Queen quietly observed how natural their bond seemed. After some time, the Queen asked Aiden if he would stay in the palace for a short while so they could discuss the situation clearly. Aiden agreed. He did not want to leave Leora suddenly, especially after seeing how attached the child was. He also wanted to do the respectful thing in the Queen's presence. The Queen arranged a guest room for Aiden, close to Leora's room. The room was peaceful and decorated with calming lights and gentle colors. Leora brought a small crystal toy from her room and gave it to Aiden as a gift. When she placed it in his hands, she smiled with pure happiness. Aiden felt his heart melt. He thanked her softly and she giggled, a sound not common among Aurelians. Later, as night fell, Aiden sat by the large window of his guest room. He looked at the sky full of stars. He thought deeply about what had happened. Part of him felt overwhelmed, and part of him felt a strange sense of responsibility. He wondered if he could ever be a part of this child's life without causing any cultural problem. Leora gently knocked on his door. When Aiden opened it, she stood there holding a small glowing blanket. She asked if she could sit with him for a moment. Aiden nodded and sat on the floor with her. Leora leaned against him, her small head resting on his shoulder. Aiden told her a simple Earth story about a little bird learning to fly. Leora listened with bright eyes and smiled softly. At the same time, in another room, The Queen sat with the Aurelian Council elders. They did not look pleased. They believed that a human taking part in the life of a royal child could change Aurelian traditions. Some elders said human emotions were too free and would influence the child in a way that was not good for Aurelian culture. They thought that Leora must stay away from the human to protect the traditions. The Queen listened to them quietly. She understood their worries, but she also remembered the expression of joy she saw on Leora's face when the child was with Aiden. She knew her daughter rarely showed emotions like that. For the first time, she questioned if strict control was truly the best path for her child. The elders demanded that she separate the child from Aiden. They said the human must leave the palace and planet immediately to avoid change in Aurelian values. The Queen did not answer them right away. She asked for time to think. Later that night, the Queen walked silently near the palace gardens. She saw Aiden sitting with Leora, speaking softly and kindly. Leora was laughing gently, a sound so pure that it touched the Queen's heart. She had rarely heard her child laugh like that. The Queen remained unseen and watched from a distance. She saw no harm in the human's presence. Instead, she saw her child feeling free, safe, and happy. The Queen placed a hand over her heart as she silently wondered if opening the door to this new bond was not a danger, but a blessing. Aiden stayed with Leora until the child became sleepy. He carried Leora back to her room with gentle care. The child rested her head on his shoulder, and even in sleep she kept a small hand holding onto his shirt. Aiden placed her softly on the bed, covered her with the glowing blanket, and whispered a soft goodnight. As he was about to leave, Leora opened her eyes slightly and said in a sleepy voice that she wanted him to stay. Aiden smiled kindly and sat beside her bed until she fell asleep again. The Queen watched through the doorway for a moment. She did not enter, but she saw the peaceful comfort on her child's face. Aiden returned to his room with a full heart. He felt that this connection was real and meaningful, even if it began in a strange way. He hoped the Queen would allow him to remain a part of Leora's life, not as someone taking over, but as a friend and support. The palace felt quiet as everyone slept, but Aiden knew that tomorrow would bring serious discussions. He did not know if the Queen would stand with him or listen to the elders. He only knew one thing with certainty. He cared for Leora now, and he would not turn away from that. He looked out at the night sky once more before resting. He hoped that kindness would guide the decisions ahead. He hoped that the Queen would see that love, even from different worlds, could bring healing, not harm. He closed his eyes, unaware that the next day would test that belief more than he imagined. Morning light entered the palace gently, spreading soft colors across the crystal walls. Aiden woke with a calm feeling, but the moment he remembered the elders' reaction from the night before, his heart grew heavy. He wondered what decision the Queen would make. He hoped she would allow him to remain in Leora's life, even if only in a small way. He did not want to cause trouble for the Aurelians, but he also did not want to leave the child suddenly. A soft knock came at his door. When he opened it, Leora stood there smiling brightly, holding a small flower that glowed like a tiny star. She handed it to him with both hands like a special gift. Aiden thanked her warmly and placed the flower carefully on a table. Leora reached for his hand as if it was the most natural thing to do. Aiden gave a gentle smile and held her hand back. Leora brought Aiden to the garden where breakfast was prepared. The Aurelian food looked different from human meals, but Aiden tried everything politely. Leora watched him closely, amused by his curious face each time he tasted something new. The Queen joined them soon after. Her expression was calm, but Aiden sensed she had spent the night thinking deeply. She greeted him politely and sat beside Leora, who happily spoke about the story Aiden told her the night before. The Queen listened silently, watching the joy in her child's eyes. It was clear Leora had rarely spoken so freely. After breakfast, the Queen asked Aiden to walk with her. She said Leora could play in the garden with a trusted caretaker, but Leora held Aiden's sleeve and did not want him to go. Aiden knelt and told Leora he would come back very soon. After a moment of hesitation, Leora nodded and allowed the caretaker to lead her toward a group of glowing garden stones. The Queen guided Aiden to a quiet balcony overlooking the peaceful valley of Oriel 7. The air was fresh, and the view looked like a painting full of life and beauty. For a while, the Queen said nothing, and Aiden waited with patience. Finally, she began to speak, her voice filled with calm strength. She said that the council elders had strong concerns. They believed that Aiden's presence would change Aurelian customs. They said that children were raised with discipline and emotional control for a reason. They feared that the human way of feeling would influence Leora and other children in a direction that they could not accept. They believed emotions made a society weak. Aiden listened quietly. When the Queen finished, he asked politely if he could share his view. She agreed, so he spoke from his heart. He said he did not come to change anyone's culture and that humans had many flaws too. But he also said that caring for others, sharing kindness, and showing emotions did not make anyone weak. He believed it made them strong enough to understand one another. He explained that on Earth, families showed love so that children felt safe and confident, not lost or alone. The Queen listened with attention. His words did not sound like a challenge to her culture. They sounded like truth spoken with respect. Aiden said he did not want to take Leora away or make decisions for her. He only wanted to be someone she could trust. He said he would follow the Queen's rules and respect Aurelian customs. The Queen thanked him for speaking with honesty. She said she believed his intentions were good. But the council did not trust emotions. They believed the heart could cloud judgment. She looked toward the garden where Leora played and said softly that what she saw in her child was something rare, something she did not want to remove. Before they could continue talking, a guard hurried toward them and bowed deeply. He said the council demanded an immediate meeting in the great chamber, and that Aiden must attend. The Queen told the guard that they would go at once. She gave Aiden a small reassuring nod, although her eyes held worry. Inside the great chamber, many Aurelians had gathered. The room was large, with tall crystal pillars and glowing symbols of history on the walls. A round platform stood in the center where important matters were discussed. Aiden stood beside the Queen as the elders began to speak. Leora had been brought inside too, sitting near the Queen, but she kept her eyes on Aiden with concern. The eldest counselor stepped forward. He spoke with a firm voice, saying that emotions were dangerous to Aurelian society. He believed Aiden's presence had already changed Leora too much, making the child act without restraint. He said that if Leora continued to learn from a human, other children might also begin to behave differently. He warned that Aurelian traditions could weaken over time. Aiden wanted to speak, but he waited respectfully. The Queen allowed the elders to finish. Another counselor said that humans were known in the galaxy for their strong feelings, bravery, and unpredictable nature. He said this could bring both great good or great trouble, and Aurelians did not want to take such a risk. The elders demanded that Aiden leave the planet within 1 day, and that he never return. The Queen listened without showing anger or sadness, but her hands were folded tightly, showing hidden emotion. She looked at Aiden, and for a moment it seemed she was seeking his inner strength. The Queen then allowed Aiden to speak. Aiden walked to the center of the chamber. He looked at everyone calmly. He did not speak loudly, but his voice filled the room with sincerity. He said he understood the council's fears. He respected their traditions. He said he was not here to change their way of life or to take Leora away. He then spoke about what he saw in Leora. He said Leora was intelligent, curious, kind, and full of brightness. He said the child was not weaker because of emotions, but stronger because those emotions gave her courage and joy. He reminded them that Leora had survived because life from 2 worlds had joined. He said maybe the universe did not want Aurelians to stay separate forever. Maybe it was time for understanding to grow. As Aiden spoke, Leora slowly rose from her seat. She walked to him and held his hand in front of everyone. Her small voice spoke with clear innocence. She said that when she was with Aiden, she did not feel afraid to smile or laugh. She said she learned more about feelings and stories and joy. She said Aiden made her feel safe like light in the dark. The chamber grew silent as her voice echoed through the room. The Queen looked at her child with softness in her eyes, as if seeing a truth she could not deny. The elders were surprised. They did not expect a child to speak so clearly. Some looked thoughtful instead of strict. The Queen stood and moved to the center. She looked around the chamber and spoke with calm authority. She said that traditions were important, but children were the future of any world. She said if a tradition stopped a child from feeling joy or comfort, then perhaps that tradition needed gentle change. She said Leora was not weaker because of Aiden. She was happier, more complete, and more open to the universe. The Queen declared that Aiden would not be forced to leave. She said he would be given an honored role as Leora's guide from another world. He would not replace any Aurelian parent, but would share his kindness and knowledge in a respectful way. She said this bond between worlds was not a danger but a gift. Many Aurelians in the chamber lowered their heads, accepting the Queen's decision. The elders did not cheer, but some looked calmer as if understanding had touched their hearts slightly. The Queen gently placed her hand on Leora's shoulder and nodded toward Aiden with acceptance. Aiden felt relief and gratitude. He bowed deeply to the Queen, promising to respect Aurelian customs and to care for Leora with kindness. Leora hugged him tightly in front of everyone, and this time no one gasped. Many eyes softened, and some even smiled slightly at the heartwarming sight. After the meeting, the Queen invited Aiden to walk with her through the palace gardens. She told him that she hoped he would teach Leora about Earth stories and human values, as long as he also taught respect for Aurelian culture. Aiden agreed. He believed that sharing two ways of life could help Leora grow into someone who could connect both worlds. In the days that followed, Aiden stayed at the palace. He spent time with Leora each day, teaching her simple games, drawing with colors and telling stories that made her imagination glow. In return, Leora taught Aiden Aurelian songs, gentle meditation, and crystal language symbols. They learned from each other with pure joy. The Queen often watched them from a distance, not with shock or fear, but with a quiet smile. She saw her daughter running, laughing, asking questions, and showing a light she had never seen before. The palace seemed more alive. Even some Aurelian children from noble families became curious and began to ask if they could join Leora's lessons. The elders were unsure, but the Queen did not stop them. One evening, as the sun set behind the crystal mountains, Aiden and Leora sat on a balcony, looking at the glowing sky. Leora leaned against him and said that before he came, she often felt alone, even in a palace full of people. She said she had always felt something was missing, and now she knew it was connection. Aiden listened with a warm heart. He told her that she brought something precious into his life too. He said he never imagined he would form such a bond with someone from another world. He said she helped him see that. The Queen joined them quietly and sat beside her child. She placed an arm around Leora, and Aiden saw how gentle her touch had become. The Queen looked at Aiden with calm acceptance. She said that sometimes the universe brought people together for reasons beyond understanding. She was grateful that Aiden had embraced this connection with respect and